Hey everybody, welcome to the Tatiana Show. It is March 31st. This is a special edition of the show before I leave for Texas next week. We've got our co-host Josh from Volturo. Hi Josh, how's it going?
G'day, g'day. Have you got your chewing tobacco ready for Texas?
No, I don't. But I was thinking of maybe bringing a cowboy hat
Yes,
so I could
very good
blend in,
idea.
you know?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
look very nice today, by the way. I didn't register that until I saw your glorious face on the camera, and I was like,
No, stop it. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, and you do too.
oh,
It's been a great week. We had Andreas Antonopoulos here in Berlin at a meetup, and it was really great talk he gave, and I gave a talk as well about transparency and asset-based currencies compared to debt-based currencies. So that's always a favorite.
Oh, I didn't know that you gave a talk. You'd mentioned that you had hung out with Andreas and I believe Pamela Morgan was there as well and some
Yep.
others, but I didn't know that you gave a talk.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we sponsored the event, so you
Oh,
know.
that was nice. Oh, good.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah,
good call.
yep.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm really excited about the show today because we have Elizabeth McCauley. I know her as Elizabeth Plochet, but she's moved on to the married life, and now she's Elizabeth McCauley. Elizabeth is a Bitcoin badass, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But she also happens to be a very, very dear friend of mine, and so I'm really happy to welcome her to the show today. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Great. So, Liz, you have earned this very important title that I just bestowed upon you um, because of your heavy involvement in this space. For people that are not familiar with you, maybe you could give us a little bit of background about how you got involved in Bitcoin, what projects you're on, all these kinds of things.
Sure, yeah. So I first learned about Bitcoin in about January of 2013. And at the time, I was working on Capitol Hill for a member of Congress. I was doing some Middle Eastern policy issues. And I saw I had a lot of frustrations when I was on the Hill because I found that there were a lot of issues that you couldn't really correct. In essence, you could pass legislation. But when I started to learn about Bitcoin and then more so decentralized technologies, I was really attracted to the concept that startups and individuals could create solutions to age-old problems like global financial inclusion issues, helping unbanked, remittance issues, financial privacy, all of that. So I got involved officially in April of 2013, and I took on a role at Bitcoin Magazine. So I was running the print production of Bitcoin Magazine. Bitcoin Magazine is the first print-related magazine for anything related to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And that summer, in July through it was about October, I ran for the Bitcoin Foundation Board of Directors and got elected. And I've been on the Bitcoin Foundation board for some time now. And that's been a really interesting experience getting to know kind of the global Bitcoin community. I also have worked for BitPay. BitPay is the largest Bitcoin-related payment processor. While I was at BitPay, I did nonprofit and political outreach, so getting nonprofits like the American Red Cross to accept donations in Bitcoin. And now, most recently, I work for Coinsecure doing global business development. So we'll talk a little bit more about it. I assume that Coinsecure is the largest Indian Bitcoin exchange. On the side, I'm also on the board of Code to Inspire, which is the first Afghan girls coding school. So really focusing on using digital literacy, computer programming, coding to empower girls who otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity for a global career. And I have also just co-founded a new project, which maybe I'll be on the show another time to share a little bit more about it, but it is related to Bitcoin and blockchain, so I'm excited about that as well.
Do you actually get time to sleep?
I do. It's great having a husband who forces me to stop, take a break. But what I love about the Bitcoin space in particular is there are just so many opportunities, so many use cases and applications. And it's just really exciting because you feel like you can have a true impact when you're working on tangible projects.
Did you find that, and I totally agree with you on that. I find in politics, it's you sort of work your butt to the ground, and all you're really doing is trying to force your opinion on other people and then try to get legislation to force that. It might be a good opinion, but whereas with Bitcoin, you can really make a difference. You can say, hey, if you guys want to use this cool thing that we're building or we're doing, then go for it. And it's a really liberating thing to do. Yeah, an
Right.
impact.
I mean, what is intriguing me the most too is thinking about, okay, something like foreign aid, being able to leverage blockchain technology for international transfers of funds. And so if you think about, foreign aid is something that's key with US policy right now, and we're sending funds overseas and we don't even really know who's handling them and who's taking funds out in between. And so even just kind of combining with our current system, having leaders look at blockchain technology to make things just simple and more transparent and with more integrity as well.
Yeah, I always say, foreign aid is taking money from poor people in rich countries and giving it to rich people in poor countries. And you don't really have an understanding of who's it going to or where's it going. Blockchains would be fantastic for that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunities are truly endless.
I always get a little bit skeptical about that actually being implemented, though, because I think that that's by design. The sorry, we lost the money, you don't know what to do. News story, next news story. I mean, I don't really think that I think a lot of people benefit from that money being sort of hidden behind the curtain. But I mean, if there was, I guess, public pressure in order to implement that, enough public pressure, I guess it would be hard to justify not using it. You know?
Right. I mean, honestly, there are some good policymakers. I love my boss. He was awesome and was really trying to make an impact. And so, for those who are in Congress who really want to reduce the size of government and want to have a more efficient system, like they are looking at blockchain technology and all. And other countries around the world too. You do have reformers who are wanting to have just a better financial system. But the neat thing is we can create projects on our own through blockchain technology with Bitcoin without having to go through a lot of bureaucratic tape.
Yeah, no permission needed. Just
Yeah, I
go
think
for it.
the opt out is really the key. A lot of people in the States right now are getting really into the presidential election and they ask me, who are you voting for? And I'm like, are you serious? Because not because I'm, too cool for school, but I just don't think that it matters at all. And I was so heavily involved with the 2012 election, with being a supporter of Ron Paul and just seeing how rigged it was in that case. I just don't really have any more faith in that. But I do like
But
opting
this
out and
time,
just going into Bitcoin. This time I'm
It's
going to vote
it's an
this
harder.
important it's an important election though. I mean, for me, I definitely see that. Okay, so if I were to talk about something like Code to Inspire, looking and seeing what these girls in Afghanistan are dealing with and how they do not have those rights, and we're so privileged in the U.S. This is my standpoint to have the right to vote, freedom of speech, and all of that. But I mean, to take it a step further, to keep it on the blockchain track, there's a lot of talk about having voting on the blockchain. In essence, you will know who is voting, when they're voting, who they're voting for, record keeping on the blockchain. I mean, that's just becoming a more prominent kind of outlook for record keeping systems
I,
internationally.
I do like the concept of blockchain voting. The only thing is, I've always seen voting, like digital voting, as something that's just good for the, hey, we're pretty sure that this is who's winning. It's a zero confirmation guess, but once we count the paper receipts that people get from entering this digital thing, then we can be, okay, we've got 6 confirmations
Yeah,
kind
we'll
of thing.
see. I mean, honestly, it'll be really interesting whoever becomes president this fall in the U.S. if that individual is what their standpoint is on Bitcoin blockchain technology. And what I've just been so amazed at. So I got started in the Bitcoin space in 2013, and just to see how it has really transformed. And you have all these mainstream, larger institutions looking at Bitcoin and blockchain, and they're doing it because they recognize it's a force to be reckoned with. They can't just push it under the rug. They can't just say, oh, it's a small fringe movement and all. So that's really, I think, neat for me to see. And if I look at what we're doing with Coinsecure, Coinsecure is having major dialogues with banks in India, financial institutions. We have 3 banking partners because they're starting to recognize, wow, this technology has a lot of value. We
So
recently,
Coinsecure, what is Coinsecure for
yeah, okay, so
the
I'll give an
people that don't
overview.
know?
Right, so CoinSecure is right now the largest in terms of volume Indian Bitcoin exchange. We were founded in June of 2014, and the exchange launched January of 2015. What I love about Coinsecure is it's a rather newer Bitcoin company in India, but they have done tremendously well. So if you look at Coinsecure, maybe compared to some of the other companies in the space in India, Coinsecure is the only Bitcoin exchange in India that has fully open order books, so transparency, which I love. You can literally go and see the first Genesis trade, so you can see every single trade, open order books. We also have a REST API, which for open source gurus, REST APIs are awesome because anyone can take Coinsecure's API and develop on top of it, or use it and leverage it. So you know exactly what the technology is. So if partners want to integrate with us, it's a lot easier. And people look at our API and they're like, oh, wow, that's great. Another thing too, comparing the US to India in terms of banking and all, Coinsecure has very fast turnaround time. We work with the IMPTS system, so basically trades can be executed very quickly, withdrawals and deposits are executed very quickly, so within a matter of generally instant or between instant to 20 minutes. Banking hours as well are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in India, Monday through Saturday. I thought that would be amazing if we had that in the US. Other things that make Coinsecure stand out, so we've created the first and only INR block explorer, so INR, Indian rupees currency. We have 3 different types of wallets, so paper wallet, an online wallet, obviously, and then we're just about to launch our mobile wallet. We have a mock trading platform with a testnet, so the big thing, just if you look at, say, India versus the US, in India right now, I would say Bitcoin adoption is about where we were at in 2013. So there's a big issue related to trust and getting it more mainstream. So with our mock trading platform, obviously people can go and look and test this out before they actually make a commitment to trade, buy and sell Bitcoin. We're just about to soon launch a merchant payment gateway. I could go on and on. Coinsecure also is a community player, which I love. It's very important to me. Coinsecure is a member of the Bitcoin Foundation and is also a silver founding donor of the BitGift Foundation and participates in tons of conferences and recognizes that it's not just about having a great company and a great platform, but also educating people on the technology.
That's a very important point, and that's what I think the Tatiana show is all about. Is there's plenty of podcasts out there that get really into the technicals, but at the end of the day, it's educating the users, the common people out there to, and when I say common, I mean that in the most in the best way possible. The people that don't have time to research all the extreme technicalities behind something so sort of kind of strange and magical, this thing called the internet. And when it comes to money is so sacred to everyone because money equals time spent earning it. And if they're sitting there, that we're telling them use this funny internet thing called Bitcoin and put your hard-earned money into it, they're gonna, it's gonna be hard. But and I think that's why I really applaud you as well, as a lot of your work is in education and in some of the steps that you've taken throughout the Bitcoin, the time in Bitcoin is really to help people understand not only the Bitcoin itself, but the legal side.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing too is just if you look at a country like India and other emerging markets, there's a huge use case for Bitcoin. I mean, India comprises a majority of the unbanked population or unbanked, underbanked, so either someone is not choosing to get a bank account or opting out. A lot of it, just has to do with the fact that you need a certain, amount of cash to have a bank account and store the cash instead of living paycheck to paycheck in India, for example. But Bitcoin could really transform that landscape. So if you just even think about the implications for someone to be able to have, make a global purchase. Another thing, I thought we had really bad pain points in the US in terms of online payments and whatnot. In India, it's a completely different story. So it's very difficult to get a credit card, let alone a debit card. And so if you're wanting to make a payment, the easiest way to say make an online transaction in India other than Bitcoin would be with a credit card, but most people cannot obtain a credit card. And then with a debit card, oftentimes, one of my coworkers even mentioned this. She went to make a purchase online. Her e-commerce cart was full and could not use her debit card. It didn't work, didn't go through. So like there's a huge need there. But just in terms of education, it is interesting how different cultures kind of look at adopting a new technology, and how different governments are looking at it and all. And I think in India, it's just there's going to be a need for even a larger campaign, something along the lines of what we had in the US, the Got Milk campaign. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. But if you had something like that in India, that would be absolutely huge to get Bitcoin more mainstream. So we're looking and strategizing in a lot of things like that, just to kind of get the word out. And the other use case, which is huge, obviously, is remittance. India is the largest company for remittance. So right now, people tend to use services like, say, Western Union, but they have very, very high transaction fees. There's uncertainty of when the money's going to arrive. You don't know if anyone's going to take out funds in between. Imagine leveraging Bitcoin for remittance. I mean, it's just phenomenal, that option and that opportunity that's right in front of us.
A lot of people in India have mobile phones, right, Liz?
Yeah,
So that's obviously really good for you guys because you've got the, you've got the mobile app and everything.
right.
But I mean, are people kind of old-fashioned there? Are they, I mean, I guess India is like a tech center, right? But are people into Bitcoin? Are there stores that are accepting it?
Not as many yet. So mostly right now it's just used for trade. So if you look at like our volume and all, we have the highest volume in India, but it's still a lot lower than say the US. And so one of the big components, we're working on pushing out soon a merchant payment gateway, but that's going to transform the landscape as well. So getting more merchants to accept payment in Bitcoin. Obviously, if someone lives in India and they want to make a purchase online in Bitcoin for an international merchant accepting payment in Bitcoin, there's that option on the table, but not too many merchants yet in India per se. But I just think of the implications with that as well.
Is there what are the politics like in India? Because there has been, word over the years that the Indian government doesn't like Bitcoin, and has been sort of against it and almost made it illegal. That was you get these sort of rumors thrashing through
Right.
Twitter. So
Right.
I'm not
Well,
sure.
yeah. Yeah, I remember early on when I was started on the board of the Bitcoin Foundation, we heard concerns from foundation members in India about what was going on there in terms of regulations and whatnot. There are no official regulations right now around Bitcoin in India, and we're expecting regulations to come out, or at least guidelines to come out by the end of the year. What I can say, the main probably regulatory body that will be looking at Bitcoin is the Reserve Bank of India, and they have been quoted actually favorably, more and more favorably towards Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Recently, there was a Times of India article where the RBI stated that Bitcoin and blockchain technology could be used to prevent counterfeiting. So counterfeiting and payment fraud is a huge issue over in India right now, anything related to credit cards and whatnot. And so the RBI thinks, oh, wow, blockchain technology could be really good in terms of preventing counterfeiting. And it honestly, like a company like Coinsecure, it's up to a company like Coinsecure to take the lead and show the Reserve Bank of India how this technology can really be used to change the landscape economically over there. And so one thing I actually just posted a blog post on our site, coinsecure.in, about why compliance matters just across the board for Bitcoin-related startups and also Coinsecure. So Coinsecure has gone above and beyond in terms of having a really robust compliance policy and just taking those extra steps to say, we're a legitimate company. We're doing legitimate services. We're actually like a large participant in the Indian economy in terms of the financial dialogue and all of that. So that's another reason why I really enjoyed working with the team. They're really smart, take compliance seriously, have a very legitimate company. And it's stuff like that that will help in the dialogue with government officials and really help kind of get Bitcoin to be more mainstream, in addition to everything else and having a very user-friendly service and whatnot.
Is it difficult to comply in India, and is it expensive? Because, sometimes I look at these companies that are trying to deal with compliance issues, especially here for obviously, New York is a nightmare. It's extremely expensive, and I think it really kind of weeds people out because of that. Is it as expensive in India, or how do they manage that? I mean,
So basically, right now, everything that Coinsecure is doing is on the up and up in terms of existing regulations.
mm,
Now, if we were, say, wanting to open up a remittance service, which we're not opening a remittance service, but hypothetically, say if we wanted to do that, we'd have to have a Payment and Settlement Act license, and that's where the expense comes in. And that's also where, you look, and very few, if any, have been granted in the past few years. So again, I think there are difficulties as well in India in terms of, very difficult to obtain a license like that. But ideally, someday we would get a Payment and Settlement Act license, and we're working hard to do so. We're also, again, ensuring that we're doing all of our due diligence that we can in collecting necessary compliance information, ensuring we're not doing things that would require licensing, in essence. So it's about, people who have a company, say if you're going to open up a Bitcoin startup in India, knowing what you're getting into, knowing all the guidelines and regulations, and being fully on the up and up to keep a good name for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
very cool.
Do you find that, we find at Voltoro that a lot more women are starting to sign up because there's a lot of countries, women are live in very controlled circumstances where they're not allowed to have bank accounts um, uh, because culturally the men deal with all of that. And Bitcoin is a really interesting use case to sort of liberate and emancipate people financially because they don't need permission.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the areas I'm also really passionate about is helping, of course, the unbanked population, but a majority of the unbanked population, over 50%, it's women. Because you have countries where, from a cultural standpoint, it's more difficult to get a bank account, or, in some countries, women are straight up prohibited from having a bank account, or, if they do want a bank account, they have to go, say, with their father or their brother to the bank to do any sort of payments or whatnot. So in India, I think it's neat to see, even on the Coinsecure team, we have several women. We have one of our developers is a woman. So you're seeing just an even greater trend too in the tech space of more women getting involved. But yeah, Bitcoin is very promising for women, because even if you look at like a situation where a woman needs to get out of an abusive situation in a certain country where she can't get a bank account, well, she could connect online. And there's just so many options there, so much opportunity, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we go with that in the next few years. Because it's an amazing use case. Like, I could send right now, this second, I could be sending Tatiana Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Or
I'd
you,
encourage you
and
to
no
do
one
so.
would know, and she would be able to use that. I mean, she could then purchase an airline ticket. Obviously, depends on what country she's located in and all, but like if you just think about that concept and all, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Really, I'm excited by it.
So what's next on the trajectory this year for Coinsecure, and then also for Code to Inspire?
Yeah, a lot of great things. So for Coinsecure, we're working on a Series A round. And the one thing I have to emphasize, like, never before have I seen a startup use funds so wisely. So Coinsecure is only operating on a seed round, has not even used up the full seed round, and has built the most robust exchange in India. Again, open order books, REST API. Another thing to mention, we're integrating with different international partners. We just did an integration with Netkey along the lines of trying to make Bitcoin go mainstream. And Coinsecure's motto is bringing Bitcoin to the masses in India. So literally doing all we can there, whether it's through education and whatnot. So another main component in terms of our next steps, obviously merchant payment gateway, launching our mobile app, but educational campaigns. So whether that's through universities, whether that's through talking to the media more about Bitcoin, participating in global conferences to share about the use case in India, all of that. And it's really exciting. I think a few years ago when I initially got involved in Bitcoin, it seemed like India, it would take a little bit longer, but right now it's like just at the cusp, I think, of getting Bitcoin into India, um, and getting more people to utilize it as well, larger volumes and whatnot. So,
Um, okay, very cool. By the way, guys, we need to pick a magic word because we're broadcasting on several different networks, but one of the networks that we broadcast to is Let's Talk Bitcoin, and they have a magic word. So traditionally, I have my guest choose the magic word. Elizabeth, would you do the honors? It can't be like Coinsecure.
magic word.
Give me a magic phrase.
Magic phrase. Uh,
It could be
Quick, now.
anything. Quick, right this second.
Pardon?
Just get anything. It doesn't need to be anything. It's just a magic word. It's a way that that LTV tracks listeners and stuff like that.
Well, it's
So
actually our way of detecting psychologically the first thing that pops into people's heads.
Can I say Coinsecure is cool? That's actually the URL for our testnet. I'm serious. Coinsecure is cool.
is that all one word?
It's a phrase. It's a phrase.
Okay, and it's spelled with a C, right? Not like some
Mm-hmm.
weird misspelling. Fine, I'll let it slide this time.
Coinsecure is cool.
Coinsecure
It
is
is,
cool.
yeah.
All right, got it.
Oh, by the way, too, so for international listeners, so those people who are outside of India, you can definitely utilize our web wallet as well. You can look at our testnet at all. We can only service Indian citizens for the exchange purposes because, again, we're abiding by very robust compliance procedure. But the wallet is pretty legit also. And we also have a paper wallet and whatnot. And if you're interested in looking at the Block Explorer, there are opportunities there as well. So.
What about Indian expats living abroad? Can they?
I don't know. You have to have an Indian. You have to have an Indian ID, so that and an Indian bank account. So.
Okay.
maybe,
So they
maybe
do.
not.
They do need
Anyone,
a.
and another thing too. Questions about Coinsecure? Please feel free to email me, Elizabeth@coinsecure.in, and check out our website as well. I'm happy to answer questions too.
So do people need a bank account to join Coinsecure?
Well, it's a Bitcoin exchange, so if you're going to be purchasing and all. But the idea is for Coinsecure to also participate in, everything related to, say, merchant adoption as well. We have a Bitcoin wallet that people can use over in India. So, someone could send funds to your Bitcoin account internationally, and then you can leverage the merchant payment gateway and all of that too.
Great.
Very cool. Okay, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Josh?
I wanted to hear about the coding.
Code to Inspire?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Code to Inspire.
Thank you.
That's
First of all, I want to
name.
thank you again for, discussing Coinsecure and whatnot. Check out our website, coinsecure.in. Email me with any questions. But moving on to, a project I've been involved in since December of 2014. We officially launched in January of 2015, but Code to Inspire. So Fresh Shafuro, she is an amazing female tech leader. I look up to her so much. But she used to work for the Women's Annex Foundation, and I was initially, I guess it was at the Miami Bitcoin conference in 2014. I presented on, Bitcoin as a game changer for women internationally, like we were talking about, underbanked women, women who don't have financial access. And I got connected after that to Fresh Shafuro, and she was working on the Women's Annex Foundation project. So basically, enabling girls to write blogs, learn more about computers and all, but also paying them in Bitcoin, so leveraging Bitcoin and blockchain technology in that regard, girls in Afghanistan again. But she decided to start her own project. She approached me in December of 2014 and shared the idea to start Code to Inspire, and immediately I was like, sign me up. I want to work with you on this. It really has an amazing purpose. And so we were working on it basically from January 2015 and opened up our first coding school in Herat, Afghanistan, in November of 2015. enrolled our first set of girls. And so we have high school students and we also have college students. So this is an after-school program for them to go and learn a lot of different skills, from HTML to working on mobile apps to constructing websites. It's just, for me, it is so amazing to see the school in progress. We were recently featured in BBC Persian News, so you can see a whole video of what is going on in the school. We had our first Code Fest, so the girls created websites. I got to review them. They were all awesome. But to me, obviously I'm getting excited about this, but what this means for these girls is a sense that they have an ability to be employed internationally. They have a marketable skill that they can use anywhere around the world. And no longer are they going to be told, you can't really earn an income. They have this way to feel like they can be an entrepreneur. And our goal is to not just have one school, but schools throughout Afghanistan, and perhaps use this as a model to expand throughout the Middle East, and encourage these girls to not just, say, do freelance for a company in Afghanistan or internationally, but to create their own companies and startups. So we're still obviously a young organization. We're a nonprofit. We're seeking donations and fundraising and all of that. But to think that just within less than a year of founding, we've been able to create a school, and we have, basically, the program operates where we have mentors who are university students, so they're computer science students themselves, and they teach and mentor these girls.
Wow.
But the biggest thing is having a safe place where they can go and learn. So the school is secure for them to go, and we've had a lot of community support too. So Overstock and BitFury helped, and the Digital Currency Group helped donate laptops to these girls, and it's just neat to see how you can enable people with technology and really empower, because these girls have this marketable skill that they can use, whether it's for working for another company or creating their own company someday. So.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I've been to some Code to Inspire events here in New York, and it's always really cool.
Are you going to learn to code, Tatiana?
I'm not going to learn how to code. I did suggest that to somebody the other day, and they said that they were bad at it, and I told them to stop being a wuss.
Can you write a song in code? I'd like to hear a song in code. That would be good.
I feel like YK Cracker would have done that. And yeah, what would you say? Like 0011? I mean, I don't even know what
equals integer. Yeah, it's
equals integer. Jeez Louise.
Folks, that the folks at home listening to this, the one thing I would like to share is that time and time again, it's proven that the way you stop a lot of wars of aggression or poverty is it through education, is through empowerment, is through lifting the middle class. As soon as we can lift the middle class, people, there's so many issues in this world, and a lot of them are solved by simply raising the middle class. And that includes, by the way, for all those people that are into, the world's way too overpopulated, that includes people stopping having masses of kids as well. Is once you lift the middle class, they don't pump out 1,000 children, and they a bit more, hold off on that sort of stuff. And then they also, stop wanting to wage wars or go out and fight for something. They'd rather build good things for society and embrace that entrepreneurship. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I think it's just absolutely amazing how much you can do with just take one type of technology. We're just talking about Bitcoin and blockchain technology on this show, but if you look at all the different types of technology and applications and all, and a lot of it just takes, say, governments to understand that technology can really improve a landscape. One thing that I love, kind of the analogy I thought about since I've gotten involved in Bitcoin and the blockchain space, is the fact that if you look at, let's look at phones and mobile phones and all. So landlines have not been able to reach the ends of the earth, right? So if you look at places in Africa, more people have mobile phones. And I think it's just going to be the same thing with virtual currency and all compared to traditional banks because there's so much more you can do with it. So it takes people to be open to it. Also, we're talking about countries like India, emerging markets and all, and it's a great use case, right? But there's still so much more to be done. So people, in Western countries and all, there's that need for us to also consider how can we bridge the gap still. And that's something that's constantly on my mind because we can talk about the great things with technology and all, but there's still applications that need to be built. So you can send Bitcoin anywhere around the world, right? But there isn't always a great exchange. Like in India, we have Coinsecure, which is awesome, but there are a lot of countries who don't have that. So we also have a responsibility in the Bitcoin community to start working on projects like that to bridge the gap. For those of you who are entrepreneurs and developers out there, there's a huge need, a huge use case, and to really change the landscape.
A lot
I
of
went on
people.
a little rant there, but at the same time, it's just so key because we see the value of this technology and how fast things can improve if you raise the economic level.
And how fast the technology moves. A friend of mine's from Kenya, and she has been in Berlin for 3.5 to 4 years, 4 years probably. She said when she left Kenya, everyone was on really old dumb phones, so like just standard old school Nokias with maybe the highest tech one had Snake on it. She went back just recently, and everyone has a smartphone. It's very rare now to see it. It's moved so quickly. So to people that think, oh yeah, but these developing countries, they don't have access to internet. No, it's not true. Internet is starting to really spread fast in some of these countries, and the tools. There's a company in India, and you should maybe know more about this than I do, Elizabeth, but that's releasing an Android phone for €5 or something like that. I mean,
that's phenomenal. Yeah. And it's like technology is reaching these places faster than clean and running water. So how can we combine it all together to leverage technology to, for things like well construction and that's a whole other subject matter. But the fact that we've got this great tool now, specifically Bitcoin blockchain technology, combining it with mobile phones, international payments, it's exciting, honestly, to see what can be done. And it does take, so existing Bitcoin companies to take some leadership, right? Companies that, to form solid relationships, to do their due diligence, there are a lot of issues, if you're in emerging technology as a startup, to be on the up and up compliance-wise, so regulators don't crack down more on Bitcoin blockchain technology. It's an incredible innovation, and I hope that it just continues.
Go Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is freedom in practice. It really is. And what's so beautiful about it is that you really don't need permission. You just download an open source application and off you go. You start spruiking your wares for this digital currency. It's beautiful.
I'm a big fan, obviously. So where can people catch up with you guys? Because I think we're coming up on the time. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to plug away all your websites.
Yeah. So for me, look at coinsecure.in, and you can email me, elizabeth@coinsecure.in, with any questions. My Twitter handle is also @McCauley. So follow me on Twitter. And if you're interested in learning more about Code to Inspire, codetoinspire.org. You can follow us on Twitter as well. And yeah, just check out these innovations. Bitcoin is literally exploding around the world, and there's such a use case, so much opportunity. I'm loving being at kind of more of a ground floor level in a company like Coinsecure that is really taking off and meeting so many needs over in India. And it's a model for other countries to kind of look at the use case for Bitcoin blockchain technology and all. So I'm excited for you guys to, delve into Bitcoin more, learn more about these opportunities companies, and obviously, continue to utilize and leverage this technology.
Yeah, I think that this is a, it's good when people in the community really try and use it for empowerment versus just personal gain. And I think that, seems like Coinsecure is doing the right thing. I'm liking it. And Code to Inspire, of course, I'm with you. Josh, how about you? Do you have any final words for us?
Well, if people want to trade gold and Bitcoin, Voltoro is the only true trading platform, order book for that. And all gold is, of course, allocated gold, so it's in your name as your property. So no matter what happens to us, your gold is in the vault. Yeah, you can follow on Twitter at Voltoro, or email me with any questions, joshua@voltoro.com.
Very cool. And then also, I wanted to extend a special thank you to the sponsor of today's show, which is the bitcoincpa.com.
Oh
Kirk
yeah.
was on the show with us. And if you haven't done your Bitcoin taxes yet, be prepared to start crying. However, Kirk has created a really easy kind of introduction to Bitcoin and tax preparation, and there's like a paid for level as well. But even watching the free video, I think, or course or whatever, I think would be really helpful for people. It's almost time to pay the tax man, and it might end up being a little bit harder. Maybe people are kicking the can down the road, but people can check out that old episode over at liberty.me or on Let's Talk Bitcoin, LRN.FM, and IPM Nation. All of them are carrying the show. And then they could go to thebitcoincpa.com in order to take their course and check in once they've been terrorized. I consider that to be the scariest episode that we've ever had.
Yeah,
So,
also check out his book, The Bitcoin Business Guide. It's the ultimate Bitcoin business guide, actually. It's really, really very well written, and I think there's an audiobook coming.
Stephanie Murphy did the audiobook.
Stephanie Murphy, exactly. So that's very exciting.
All right, good. Well,
Yeah. And
everybody,
what
make
about
sure
you,
you
Tatiana?
comply.
What about can people get in touch with you, Tatiana? What's
Oh,
happening in your
me,
world?
little old me. I'm gonna be at the San Antonio State Libertarian Party convention in Texas next weekend, April 8th to the 10th, with Lynn Ulbricht, a good friend of mine. She'll be talking about Ross's case. Of course, freeross.org if people are interested in finding out more about that, in case they haven't heard me talk about it the first 78 times. Jeffrey Tucker will be there from liberty.me. Bob Murphy, who's a great economist. We actually just did an Economics 101 video on my YouTube channel, Forevermore Tatiana, where you can also find all the old Tatiana show episodes, and a bunch of other people, Julie Browski, and I don't know, the whole Texas crew is really fun in the first place. So that'll be really cool. People can go to cryptomediahub.com if they need any help with marketing or PR or advertising to the space. And TatianaMoroz.com, you can get your Tatiana coin. And we've got a lot of new announcements with that. I keep alluding to them, but they haven't been made yet, but it'll happen soon. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Peace
Peace out.
out.
Bye.